Kent, congratulations on the success of The Parenting. I understand the movie is loosely inspired by the personal story of getting together with your family and the family of your now husband. So when did you start percolating on the concept of adapting the story for this movie? And what made comedy horror the best genres to tell it?
Thank you. And Can you hear me? Oh, thank you so much for coming, everyone. It was very kind of you. Let's see. I've always loved comedy horrors, like This Is the End and Poltergeist, which isn't exactly a comedy, but I just, I love those family sort of like get to know the family for a long time and then get scared kind of things. And I was just trying to think of something, and I just, one of the things you just throwing ideas around with your friend, and we had my boyfriend and I invited our parents and his parents to meet when we first started dating, and like my parents had never really spent any time with a boyfriend because it was not that big of a deal, and I kind of came out late to them, and it was like a whole thing. I was like, here's a great idea, let's have them all come to a house for the weekend in Connecticut for 4 days straight, and it was incredibly stressful, but turned out great, and everyone's fine and still loves each other, but I did have the idea of like the only thing that would make this more stressful is if it was like a haunted house. So that's basically where the idea came from.
Great. And how did you approach the development process? Did you pitch the story with the script already done, or where were you in
I had the idea and I brought it to a couple people, and then my agent hooked me up with the producer, Chris Bender, at New Line, and I talked to him on the phone, and I was like, this is what I'm thinking about. And then I guess an hour later he called and said like, what is your process like? And I was like, I don't know what you mean by that, but he wanted to do it, and it was really exciting and great. And then I called my parents and made the mistake of saying, I'm writing a movie about you. Don't do that ever. I'll never do it again. It was great.
Excellent. And Craig, when did you come into the picture?
I was sent the script by my agent. We shared the same agent at the time. And it was just one of those, I'm a child of the 80s and also grew up loving the sort of kind of funny, scary movies that you saw a little bit more of in the 80s and 90s. So, Beetlejuice and Gremlins and Ghostbusters and Death Becomes Her and Poltergeist and all of those. And then, we every so often you see them crop up. This Is the End, and The Cabin in the Woods is one of my favorites. So the sort of horror comedy mashup, it's tricky to do, but an exciting challenge because it's such a tonal balance. And I think the most, when I read this, I was like, oh, it's a comedy trapped in a haunted house. And I too, have in-laws, and my boyfriend at the time's parents, we did a similar thing, and we got them together for a dinner in New York City, and our parents couldn't be more different, but they ended up getting along. So I immediately related to that and just was like, I want to do this. What do I got to do? And begged and pleaded, and they hired me.
Excellent. Well, this is a powerhouse cast, obviously. So, and what was it like working with this group of actors?
I couldn't believe they agreed to do it. I mean, you guys saw the movie. I mean, I read it and I was like, this is a ridiculous, stupid, and that's not a pejorative, fun, weird, kind of ludicrous movie. And I just hope we get to make it. And to New Line's credit, they just thought it would be elevated if we just got the best actors in the world. And I was like, I'm all for it. So Brian Cox signed on first. And I think when he signed on...
What year was this? Like when in the succession?
So so this was a while back. This was 2022.
Okay.
So he was in the midst of Succession and all of that. And the second he signed on, he gave it such an air of legitimacy, I think, that immediately all these other powerhouse actors were like, I think he gave them permission to do it because I bet they read it and was like, this is fun and stupid and silly, but what fun. And if Brian's doing it, then Edie Falco too, will do it. And Lisa Kudrow. And I assume that's why. Actually, you could probably talk to these two over here.
Excellent. So
Why'd you
good
do it,
segue.
Dean?
So Brandon and Dean, how did you come to this project?
No one offered me anything. I worked for my dinner. I auditioned, and Yeah, and then we
beat
went
out
through, like,
hundreds.
for the all the other little gay actors out there. No, yeah, it was a normal audition process. I thought the script was so funny. It was so clear to me what it was, and I also grew up with like Chucky and Poltergeist as well. Like these were some of my favorite movies as a kid. So I had a fondness for the genre, I guess, or the mix of them. And then we went through like a pretty rigorous process of chemistry reads and other actors involved and actors moving around and figuring it all out. And it was a nice day to get the offer finally.
So Dean, tell us about your experience.
They offered me the role, and they told me he was in it, and I was like, okay. Brian Cox, Edie Falco, Lisa Kudrow is my wife. I mean, she's just a genius, a comic genius in my humble opinion. And of course Parker Posey and a couple of gay actors. So it was great, and it really one of the and I mean this really one of the most fun times I've had on this set. And I've been around.
Cool. I heard there was a lot of bonding as a cast. There may have been a group text.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there is a group text. Yeah.
There is a group text.
Anything you want to share?
No.
The name of it is Fuck If I Know. Because when Lisa's naming the dog, she's like, that's Frick, Frack, and Fuck If I Know.
I didn't know that. That's the name of the group. I'm not on the group chat.
No,
apparently.
Sorry.
No, Craig, you are not on the group text.
It's all about me.
Now, I understand the hotel may have been haunted.
Yeah. Historically, they have a bunch of plaques up that say it's haunted as well. There were definitely some.
Well, Vivian, who plays Sarah, insists she had some sort of visitation, and we're just like, we think you were just on acid, Vivian. So.
I was told that my section was not haunted. I think it was maybe newer, but it was a cool hotel. It's a Colonial Inn in Concord, Massachusetts. If you ever are in that area and want to go to a haunted hotel, it's really nice and the food's good.
Thanks. Any other activities?
Oh yeah, there was the one of the front desk employees was a clairvoyant, and he offered up a seance, which of course Nick Parker and I took him up on. And there were crystals and candles and what may have just been a reiteration of our Wikipedia pages, but
I love it.
it was a novel experience.
Good method acting.
I will say there was mirroring of sort of everybody being stuck together in one place. We were all staying in the same kind of old, haunted, colonial kind of mansion or hotel. And it does a lot actually for, I think, cast camaraderie. It's like it's like you're at summer camp. You're all trapped together. You're all hanging out. And everyone just, I'm happy to hear, Dean, that you guys had fun, because I did too. And it was just this uniquely communal experience doing it.
Yeah, we Parker, Lisa, and myself all lived in the same kind of house, basically, but it was kind of divided up to the we each had our bedrooms and stuff. But there was like game nights and movie nights, and Parker would cook.
We cooked you a lot of meals for you.
I was gonna say, a lot of meals. That
Parker
I didn't
cooked. She can cook.
Parker cooked. Oh, she's a great cook.
Oh,
yeah.
I cooked.
You can see how often I'm invited to the actor functions.
That's great. But it also sounds like such a wonderful environment, because you as a director invited the writer on. I understand, Kent, you were on set, and that helped you a lot with coming up with alternative lines on site as needed.
I will say, Kent's head writer of a little show called Saturday Night Live, and so I knew having one of
over 200 episodes you've written, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Sounds right, though.
Sorry I was mean to you, man.
It's okay.
And I just knew it would be an asset to have him on set, and it was so tremendously more of an asset than I thought it was, because we'd be doing a scene and actors would be doing it as written, and Kent would say, "Well, I think I could come up with something better. Give me a second." And he'd go off for just 10 minutes, come back with like 6 Post-it notes and be like, I don't know about these. Do any of them work? And everyone would be hysterical. And I'd do as many as I could until they told me I had to move on. And I could probably point out most of the funniest lines were kind of things that he sort of came up with right there on the spot.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I'm very good friends with Kristen Wiig, and she, when she was doing Bridesmaids, she said, would you want to come on set for a little while? So I ended up doing 5 weeks, and then Judd Apatow and Paul Feig kind of had this system where like you would write on Post-it notes if you had like another idea for a joke, and then the assistant would take them over. I have direct access to you, which was very nice. But the assistant would take them over, and then they would pick 1 or 2 to try, just to have an alt. And it was a great training ground, and a really cool thing to learn how to do very fast and not think too much, and just be like, here, try it.
That's fantastic. What was everyone's favorite scene in the film?
Let's hear it, Dean.
My favorite scene was when I stuck my finger up the dog's ass. Right? And I did.
Maybe not the dog's favorite scene.
Right up the dog didn't appreciate it, but I'm a method actor, man. I went right in there.
I think my favorite scene is when things are really starting to go chaotic and they're all in the sunroom and Frank shows up naked and throws up and the dog looks at it and starts freaking out and everyone. It's so chaotic. It's so unhinged. I remember being on set basically being like, I can't believe New Line paid to make this movie. I was really sort of surprised and delighted the whole time that a movie that this sort of unhinged and unconventional and original was getting made, and with all these great actors. And I think that scene sort of encapsulates sort of the heart of the movie, the sort of silly, chaotic, unhinged heart of the movie. So I'm fond of it.
We see it, Carl.
Brandon, what was your favorite scene?
I think mine was the there's only one dinner scene, right? The sort of musical dinner scene number. I think that was so much fun to just have all of us sat there together and really commit to the bit. Like this is just like an awkward family meeting, and then ultimately like the horror just shows up in such a fun, fantastic, unexpected way. That was Yeah.
I personally, just for me, because it reminds me very clearly of my actual parents and how they interact on it. It's like them meeting for that first time and the directions. Like both of our dads are guilty of it, but they do, the long direction run.
That's great.
Dean's endless directions.
Great.
Yeah. I love the freaky horror stuff, but I love actually just sort of cringy, awkward human interactions. And so I wanted to make sure that those lived and breathed in the movie too, that those felt kind of real. Like it is sort of an awkward, just kind of meet the parents comedy, just happens to be trapped in a haunted house.
Ken, I wanted to ask you, how did you come up with the backstory for how the demon came about?
Sure. I think I started looking up demons, and then Andros is real. I don't know in what exact capacity, but you can read about Andros and on the online. So I sort of started there, and then I just was trying to find something that kind of would mirror like the modern day family and the family in the past. And then the Wi-Fi password, I don't know where that came from exactly. It's one of those things that just sort of like, this makes sense. I don't know where this is coming from. It all kind of sort of makes sense if you say it really fast, as fast as you can, and don't think about it too much.
It's great. And for everyone, what would you like audiences to take away from this film?
The profound Chekhovian subtlety of the... No. I will say this. I'm so glad you all came out to see this movie in a theater in a group because, it's there on Max and released about a month ago. But this movie is so much fun to see in a theater. And I knew it was going to be a streaming release when it was greenlit. That's when it was greenlit, we knew it was just going to go on Max. But I was like the whole time thinking, God, I hope we get to screen it at least once or twice because it's so much fun to watch with an audience. So it's a good group communal experience, and the laughter can be infectious. And I love this. They always ask you, do you want to sit through the movie or do you want to just show up for the Q&A? And often I've seen the movie a ton of times, but I'm like, I've barely seen this in the theater. I'm going to watch the whole thing, which I did, and watch. It still delights me to see people jump at this movie. I'm not sick of it yet. So, and I hope you think it's just that you have a good laugh, and it's we need something that's just kind of fun and goofy in these days. Take our mind off everything. So that's what I hope you take out of it.
Yes.
God bless.
I like that every character has like a little moment of heart, and like, my mom is tricky. So, she would never see it that way, but like this is just a fact. So and Edie does such an amazing job of like showing the humanity. It comes from a place of like being nervous for your child, and like that's kind of like I feel like everybody has like those little moments, which is important to me.
Agreed.
Movies are still fun.
It's great.
If you're gay, get married quick. Yeah.
I got to tell you something, and I appreciated the fact that my character, kind of looking like I do, had a moment of really love and tenderness for his gay son. And it meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
And I wanted that to be...
I know a lot of gay men that look like you.
And it meant a lot to me that I could, portray that. Do you know what I'm saying?
That was
especially in this day and age.
That is one of my favorite little moments. It's when you go up to him and say, hey, I think you're cool.
Yeah.
And it's just, he doesn't need to say more than that. Sometimes sons and dads have a tough time communicating, but that really said it all. And then you cut the treacle by handing him a gun.
Yeah.
Sort of the spirit of the whole movie.
Exactly. It was wonderful. So I hope everyone enjoyed the film. And if you will, please give this great group a wonderful round of applause.
Thanks, guys.